Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. I woke up that Sunday to the sound of my phone buzzing on the nightstand. The screen lit up with a message from Sandra. It was 7:12 a.m. I kissed someone at the party last night, just being honest. I read it twice, maybe 3 times. The first feeling wasn't anger, it was stillness. The kind that hits when something snaps in your head but you're too calm to react. I typed back one line. I appreciate your honesty. Then I put the phone down and sat up. The room was quiet. I made coffee, slow and steady, because that's what you do when you don't want to break something before breakfast. Sandra worked in corporate compliance, of all things. Her company had hosted a winter gala the night before. I'd stayed home. I didn't feel great, and her work events were always the same: forced laughter, dull speeches. She'd looked amazing when she left: red dress, silver heels. Now I was staring at a confession that started with just being honest. It wasn't the first time. Sandra had a pattern. She'd do something selfish, then confess right away like honesty was a shield. A year ago, she forgot to mention she'd maxed out our shared card buying work clothes. Before that, she crashed my car while texting and called me from the tow yard. Just being honest. Once, she went on a weekend retreat that turned out to be a spa trip with coworkers. Each time she framed the truth like it canceled the act. But this wasn't money or property. This was trust. I sat with my mug and thought about how every apology had trained me to forgive faster, to reset the scoreboard because she'd been honest. Not this time. I opened the message again, took a screenshot, and saved it to a new folder. Then I opened my laptop. Sandra believed honesty erased consequences. I decided it was time to show her it didn't. I didn't reply again that morning. Instead, I opened my banking app and started making quiet adjustments. The shared card was frozen with one tap. My name was the only one on the condo lease, so I drafted a 30-day notice ending her month-to-month arrangement. The words felt clean, almost surgical. Sandra hadn't come home till then. She hadn't crossed the threshold since leaving for that party. She always said she valued transparency. I figured I'd give her some. I posted the spare bedroom online, letting people know I'd be showing the place soon. The landlord had already said I could bring in another tenant if needed. Available immediately, I wrote. Quiet central location. Within an hour, 3 people had messaged me to schedule viewings. I confirmed them all. Next, I thought about the man she kissed. Sandra's company had a policy against relationships with vendors. I remembered her mentioning a sales rep named Thomas who had been pushing for a new contract. She'd brought him up a few times, too casually. The name came back to me like a splinter. So I did what she would have done in my position. I went to her company's compliance portal, the same one she managed training for, and submitted an anonymous report. I attached the screenshot of her message. Senior employee admitted to inappropriate conduct with a vendor at a corporate event, I wrote. Potential conflict of interest. I didn't add my name. I didn't need to. By late morning, the apartment felt lighter. At 10:47 a.m., my phone buzzed. A message from Sandra. Can we talk when I get back? Don't come back here, I replied. Your things will be packed. She typed back immediately. What do you mean? I didn't answer. I spent the next few hours sorting her clothes into boxes. No anger, no pacing, just rhythm. Sandra believed being honest meant she could skip the consequences. By the end of that day, she'd learned that I could be honest too, just in a different way. By noon, the quiet had started to break. My phone rang nonstop, first from numbers I knew, then from ones I didn't. The first voicemail came from Andrew, her father. Spencer, he said, voice tight with anger. What in the world is this? Sandra called, crying. You don't humiliate someone you love over one mistake. Handle it privately like an adult. I let it go to voicemail. Then Ruth, her mother, called right after. Whatever happened is between you two, she snapped. Don't drag the family into your drama. I didn't reply to either of them. They were experts at defending Sandra. They'd done it her entire life. At 12:20, a text popped up from Lily, her best friend. Sandra told me what happened. It was just a kiss, Spencer. She was drunk. Don't overreact. I stared at it for a second before typing back. Would you be fine if your husband kissed someone else? No reply. A few minutes later, an unknown number flashed on the screen. I picked up. Spencer, This is Thomas. Look, man, I think there's been a misunderstanding. His voice was calm but shaky, like he'd practiced that line. Misunderstanding? I said. You kissed my wife. It wasn't like that. We were all drinking. It was just a stupid moment. Nothing more. You married? I asked. He hesitated. Yeah, but listen, please don't make this a big thing. It could ruin both our careers. I hung up without another word. After that, I sat down with my laptop and opened our shared budgeting app. Sandra had logged every expense there, like breadcrumbs. I traced them: lunches near a downtown hotel, client dinners on weekends. Same pattern, different months. The story she'd sent me that morning, just a kiss, wasn't new. It was just the first time she got caught. I printed the receipts and put them in a folder. The paper felt heavier than it should have. By nightfall, Sandra would realize that being honest was no longer her defense. It was my evidence. The knock came just before 6, hard, fast, impatient. I looked through the peephole. Sandra stood there in the same red dress from the gala, mascara streaked down her face. Beside her was Lily, arms folded, jaw tight. Spencer, open the door. We need to talk, Sandra said, voice sharp from crying. I opened it halfway, the chain still on. We're talking. Don't do this, she said. Let me in. This is my condo, I told her. You're listed as a month-to-month occupant. I gave notice this morning. Her face froze. You're joking. No, I already found someone interested in the room. Lily jumped in. You can't just kick her out over one mistake. She was honest with you. That's the problem, I said. She keeps mistaking confession for character. Sandra gripped the doorframe. It meant nothing, Spencer. We were drinking. He leaned in, and I didn't stop him. I told you because I didn't want to lie. Thomas, I said quietly, the vendor bidding for that new contract. The same one I already reported to your company's ethics line this morning. She blinked fast. You... what? Funny coincidence. You manage compliance. He works for a company that's trying to land a deal. Guess that makes things complicated. Lily frowned. You reported her? I submitted an ethics complaint, I said. They can handle their own investigation. Sandra's face turned from pale to red. You're trying to destroy me. No, I said evenly. You did that when you crossed the line. I just told the truth, like you did. Lily shook her head. You're being cruel. I stepped aside and pointed to the boxes by the wall. Essentials are here. The rest I'll have packed for pickup. I'll text you when it's ready. Sandra's lip trembled. I love you, Spencer. Please, can we just talk? If you loved me, you wouldn't have done it. I closed the door gently, locked it, and walked away. Her muffled sobs followed for a few seconds, then silence. That night, for the first time in months, the apartment felt quiet in a good way. Monday came fast. I was already at my desk when the call from Sierra, Sandra's boss, came through. Her tone was clipped and professional. Mr. Davis? This is Sierra Graham from Redwood Logistics. I'm calling regarding an incident report submitted through our ethics line. It names Sandra Reed. I know, I said. May I ask your relationship to her? She's my wife, I replied flatly. A pause. Understood. The report included documentation. We're reviewing it internally. Thank you for your time. By lunchtime, Sandra was suspended pending investigation. I didn't need confirmation. Her texts said enough. You're ruining my career. I'll sue you for defamation. I can't believe you do this to me. I didn't answer. That evening, I went down to the parking garage to take out the trash. That's when I saw Thomas, leaning against a gray sedan near the exit. Spencer, he said, stepping forward. We need to talk. I don't think we do. He rubbed the back of his neck. Look, I know this looks bad, but Sandra's been saying you're controlling, that you tracked her. She came to me for comfort. Comfort, I said. That's what you call it? He sighed. It wasn't supposed to go this far. She told me she'd leave you soon. Did your wife know that too? That hit. His jaw clenched. You've destroyed my life. My boss knows. My wife's packing bags. You should take that up with yourself, not me. He stepped closer. You think you're some kind of hero? No, I said. Just a man who's done letting someone else write the story. He swung then, clumsy, wild. I moved aside and his fist glanced off the railing. A security guard rounded the corner shouting, "Hey, what's going on here?" Thomas backed off, muttering, "You'll regret this." Then he disappeared. The guard asked if I wanted to report it. I said I already had, just not to him. That night, Sandra texted again, "You're turning everyone against me." But she was wrong. She'd done that herself. The next morning, I filed for divorce. No ceremony, no warning. Just paperwork, like closing an account that had been overdrawn one too many times. By Wednesday morning, the story had gone public. At least Sandra's version of it had. I woke to a dozen notifications. She'd posted a long message online about escaping a controlling marriage and finding the courage to be honest. She painted me as cold, manipulative, and jealous of her career. It was the kind of post designed to win sympathy before anyone asked for facts. Her friends flooded the comments with hearts and support. I read it once, closed the app, and decided I'd respond only once. I uploaded the screenshot of her original text and wrote beneath it, "Interesting how I kissed someone at the party. Just being honest turns into an abuse story when the consequences show up." That was all. No more. An hour later, the likes on her post slowed. Then they reversed. Half the comments vanished. A few people messaged me privately, "Sorry, man, didn't know the full story." Sandra deleted her post. But that night, she found a new way to express herself. I came down to the parking level around 11 to grab something from my car. The lights flickered above. My headlights were covered in scratches, and the side doors were carved with one word, deep and uneven: liar. I stood there for a long minute, just breathing. Then I checked the building's camera feed with the property manager. At 12:47 a.m., the footage showed Sandra walking straight to my car, keys in hand. By the afternoon, she'd been cited for property damage. Her parents called that evening, voices trembling between anger and desperation. "Spencer, she's not thinking straight," Ruth said. "Drop the charges. She's hurt." "She made a choice," I told her. "I'm just letting her live with it." For once, they didn't have an answer. Friday morning, I got a call from Sierra. Her voice was clipped and tired. "Spencer, just letting you know the investigation is closed. Sandra's employment with us has been terminated effective immediately. She violated multiple conduct policies. That's all I can say officially." "I understand," I said. That afternoon, Sandra texted again. "I lost everything because of you. You should be ashamed. I'll never forgive you." I didn't answer. Later that day, Andrew called. His tone wasn't angry anymore, just defeated. "She's staying with us now," he said quietly. "She's a mess, Spencer. You've gone too far." "Andrew," I said, "your daughter had an affair with a married vendor and vandalized my car. That's not my doing. She made a mistake. Everyone does. Then she can live with hers. I'm not cleaning it up this time." He sighed, said something about grace and forgiveness, then hung up. By Monday, Sandra had to pay restitution for the car repairs, $1,800 for damages and repainting, plus community service for the vandalism charge. 2 days later, I got an envelope from Andrew and Ruth. Inside was a printed invoice labeled "Therapy Expenses," $2,000. A note underneath read, "For the emotional trauma you caused our daughter." I stared at it for a moment, then smiled. I pulled out a blank sheet and wrote a new one. Outstanding balance, $13,600. Half of rent, utilities, and groceries I covered during the 3 years of her career reset. I mailed it back the same day. They never responded. That night, I boxed up the last of Sandra's things and left them with the building manager. The silence afterward wasn't empty. It was relief. A month later, the world had gone still again. Sandra was out of the city, working part-time at a home goods store. A mutual friend said she was in therapy, processing trauma. I didn't ask what kind. Meanwhile, the condo was rented to a quiet tenant named Mia. She paid on time and said good morning when we crossed paths, the kind of peace I'd forgotten existed. A week later, Lily texted me out of nowhere. "Sandra's still saying you ruined her life. I don't know what to believe anymore." "You don't have to. Just check the facts," I replied. That was the end of that conversation. Life moved forward, as it always does. I met someone new through a friend, a woman named Amelia. We grabbed coffee one evening after work. She asked if I'd ever been married before. I told her yes, and that it didn't end quietly. She smiled. What happened? I told her everything. The text, the emails, the fallout, the silence that followed, the vandalism, the ethics complaint, the divorce, finalized 3 weeks later. She got what she walked in with: her clothes, her car, and a severance check from a job she no longer had. Amelia didn't interrupt once. When I finished, she just nodded and said, "So you believe honesty includes consequences?" "I do," I said. "Otherwise, it's just another lie." She smiled again. "That's fair." I like that. That night, I walked home lighter than I'd felt in months. The apartment felt new again, like it had shed something rotten. Before going to bed, I opened the folder on my laptop labeled Sandra. Inside was the screenshot that started it all. I kissed someone at the party. Just being honest. I hovered over it for a second, then deleted the file. Sometimes closure doesn't come with revenge or regret. It comes when you stop needing the proof. Thank you for watching.